What they found in David's phone horrified everyone in the courtroom. Phone him grave.
Prosecutors revealed they found in David's phone at his court date today made everybody in the room stomach turn. It was horrifying. This degenerate freak really murdered that little girl and thought he was never going to get caught. He thought he committed the perfect crime. He thought, I mean, there's no evidence. He cleaned up his tracks good enough.
I don't think that nigga thought he had the perfect crime, because if there's nobody in this world who think they did the perfect crime and just leave the victim in the car 2 blocks away from their house, bro. No, he didn't think it's either he didn't do it or he's a fucking idiot. Yay, nay, yay, nay. He still, and we keep saying he's still going to jail for fucking with that girl, but we don't know if that was his girlfriend or not, bro. That's just facts. It's innocent until proven guilty. But he would be a real dumbass to pull his car down the street with a body in that bitch. We could still. I ain't gonna speak too much, bro. I ain't gonna speak too much because I ain't trying to get nobody on my head. And not because I'm on that nigga's side. Of course I'm not on that nigga's side. If he did that, his ass needs to go to prison for the rest of his life. But what I'm saying is, he would be dumb as fuck to leave that car down the street.
He thought they was never going to find out. He was never going to get arrested, and that's evident by how he was moving. Celeste was murdered according to officials back in April of 2025. I think she was murdered much longer before then, but if we're going with the official timeline, she was murdered back in April. She wasn't discovered dead until September. He had about 6 months to clean up his tracks, and he thought he did a good enough job. He wasn't officially charged with anything until April of 2026. That means that's the entire year since he murdered Celeste. Now, he knew he was under investigation since September. That means he knew he was under investigation for about 6 months. But, you know, his arrogance didn't really allow him to think that he was going to get caught, because when he was eventually arrested, this dude has so much evidence on his phone.
Yeah, that's stupid, bro. He's stupid. That's why I'm saying he could be framed, because think about it. If you didn't do it and you don't think you're going to jail, you're not getting rid of the shit on your phone, bro. And I know there's no way that nigga have 40 terabytes full of that shit, bro. So his goofy ass had shit on his phone. His phone was tapped. And he parked the car up the street from his house. That's too much, bro. It's just too much of a perfect coincidence. But at the same time, he could just be a real dumbass nigga. He could just be stupid as fuck and think he on his light Yagami shit, but he not. He think he on his light Yagami shit, but he not. That's
Not of what he did to Celeste, but of other things that you would think that if somebody knew or had expectation they was gonna get arrested for something this horrific and knew their phone was gonna be a pivotal part of this investigation, that they would at least clean up their phone. But this dude was so arrogant and so cocky, he didn't even bother to even touch or erase his phone or erase illegal things from his phone.
So, a hearing just wrapped up for singer David in his first-degree murder case.
The prosecution revealed details about disturbing digital evidence. Let's get to CBS LA's Rick Montanez with what we learned in court today. Rick, what are you hearing?
Amy, Chris, the hearing just wrapped up within the half hour here, and cameras were not allowed in court, but I can tell you that the defendant, David Burke, was in court today in shackles and wearing that orange jumpsuit. The biggest new piece of evidence revealed, prosecutors say a significant amount of child found on Burke's cell phone.
disgusting.
We also want to point out that this all happens one day after the medical examiner's report became public. That is the report on the death of Celeste Rivas Hernandez. The report says, or I should say the family of Rivas Hernandez is absolutely devastated to learn the gruesome details contained in that write-up. That's according to a family statement. So this report says the 14-year-old girl died of sharp force trauma, but the autopsy was difficult because of the severe decomposition of her dismembered body when it was found in the singer's abandoned Tesla last September. Officials say she died 5 months earlier in April of last year. Burke, the suspect known by his stage name David, was arrested last Thursday. On Monday, he pled not guilty to the capital murder charges. We spoke with a former federal prosecutor just a short time ago here on CBS LA Mornings about this new evidence revealed in today's hearing and the fact that David's phone, according to prosecutors, contains child.
Think about it. Listen to this, bro. So this is what it's like to not need weed to get me high. I love it when you hold me, when you cry, just because I wanna see you make suicidal. This man wanted that girl to commit suicide, bleed. They was getting into it so much. That was probably his shit, bro. Cause they saying he was in that 764 group chat. That's what them niggas do. They be making motherfuckers cut their hair off and shit. He probably wanted her to smoke herself and she ain't do it. So that nigga just called her over and did that shit quick. Cause he said it in the song, I wanna see you make suicide. I love it when you hold me, when you cry. That man was trying to emotionally trauma her ass till she smoked herself. Didn't work because she was still trying to come for that nigga. And then he did it himself. But you never know, bro. It's too many options, bro. Too many options of what could have happened. Fucking Neo could have crashed out. And then that's the thing, bro. Anybody can stab somebody, bro. Anybody can stab somebody, bro. We don't know who the fuck was around that corner and said, could have been Neo, Asia, David, anybody, bro. At this point.
Obviously, we don't know if it's Celeste Rivas's images and videos or something else, but that is a significant offense. Obviously, it helps prosecutors prove the sex crimes, the lewd and lascivious, Penal Code Section 288, but it's also a separate crime in and of itself, and it's certainly the possibility that the feds even step into this case because they typically will prosecute these types of child cases.
They described it as a phone full of child porn. Now, am I surprised that this weirdo who's currently on trial for engaging in inappropriate activities with a 14-year-old girl and then murdering her because she was going to reveal it to the world, am I shocked that that person has a phone full of child porn, have gigabytes of child porn? I'm not surprised at all, not one bit, right? Not one bit. I feel like what's even more surprising is that it wasn't deleted or it wasn't gone.
That's why I just
thought he was
bro.
safe.
He thought he was safe because if you think you that safe, maybe he really didn't do it. Maybe he really didn't kill her. Bro, because there's no way a nigga is that stupid to park a car 2 blocks away from their house with a dead body in that bitch and then keep crazy images on your phone, bro. He must have, and then go to he went to his show, bro. He went to his next couple shows, left the car right by his house, and then left the CSAM on his phone. Bro, you gotta be a bad motherfucker to think you just stepping on ice like that, bro.
He really thought they was never coming for him. There's no evidence more clear that he thought he was never going to get caught and he was Teflon Don than his neighbors complaining that he was doing too much partying. And this was happening during the investigation. Like, Celeste's body was found. They went to a grand jury. They was
house,
like
bro.
interviewing people, trying to get a murder charge on him. And he was at his hideout home in the Hollywood Hills partying and having a good old time while they investigating this little girl's murder.
Then today, NBC4 Investigates obtained surveillance video that appears to show the defense attorney near the police scene minutes later. This afternoon, Blair Burke returned to the home where police arrested the singer and made no comments as she left.
For the DA?
One neighbor actually told me that he's relieved that there was an arrest because he said that there have often been parties at this home. I asked if he's heard parties here recently. He said it's an ongoing problem. Either way, on Monday, we're expected to get our first look at David as he's expected in court in person in downtown Los Angeles.
I'm more interested in knowing who the clout whores and monsters were that were still hanging out and partying with this dude. Because he can't party with himself. If there were parties, there were other people there. Who were the people that were still comfortable partying with this dude, knowing like he was under investigation for what he did to Celeste? Like, even if you want to say, hey, man, I didn't know that he actually murdered her. I thought it was all lies. But you knew he was still having relations with this little girl, and you were still comfortable partying. The only people who I see really comfortable partying with someone like David are people who believe they are like David, or people who have similar interests or secrets like David, which is why I believe, man, even if we can't prove that anybody at that party actually did something, man, yo, they need to be under investigation. Like, they need to be put on a registry, man. David friends. We need to know who his friends were so people can stay away from him, bro. Because it's not like they was partying with him before her body got discovered. No, right? These were parties that started happening after David came back to LA after going to Texas briefly to hide out. This was in the middle of the investigation. There needs to be a list of names that are part of David's entourage and his network of people. Because I'm not buying David is doing
No bullshit, because the body was all cut up and shit, and they talk about he couldn't do that alone. Y'all need to find out who these niggas is who was coming to his party, who was so comfortable kicking with his ass after the fucking fact. Because there's no way this nigga had turn-up sessions after that, bro. Nigga, if some shit happened in the city, to you right now, watching this video, some shit go down in your city, and they think you did something, your friend's gonna disconnect from your ass instantly. This nigga out here thugging it hard.
Doing all these things alone. The same way they try to get us to buy that he murdered Celeste by himself, that Celeste came over to his house on, I think, April 23rd or 24th, and he murdered her, and then she was never to be seen again, and he's the one who did all of this by himself. I'm not buying that, bruh. Especially after I seen the autopsy report and found out exactly what happened. I don't think David was able to do this himself, then hop on a plane the next day to go and party and have an album rollout and start his tour, and nobody was there to help him either hide his body, chop up this body, dismember this body, and hide it for him. I don't think David, who was on an active tour, was actively hiding and moving Celeste's body all across Los Angeles County, bruh.
Just received the autopsy report from the medical
And the
examiner
car kept moving
in Celeste
too, bro. I
Rivas's
don't know,
death,
this
for
shit
which
crazy.
David is now charged with her
His ass
murder.
cooked,
And there are some interesting things, and we talked about this before, that we knew that the coroner had ruled this, and the medical examiner ruled this a homicide, but we didn't know the cause of death. And the DA said they were stabbed, there was some kind of sharp
instrument was used.
Now we know, and what they're saying is there were two wounds in particular, and that they believe, and they use the word may, and the word may is going to be really important, which we'll talk about, that they may be penetrating wounds, which would not be wounds to dismember a body.
Right, because of where they are, they believe, is I think the main, and also
not be the same instrument used to dismember the body.
Now, the body was dismembered.
All of us, man. I think the devil had a hand in some of us being created. Because anybody who is capable of this, truly imagine what just happened here. Stabbed up first off, to take somebody's life by a knife?
By a knife?
You gotta have some level of like psychoness in you, bruh. To take somebody's life with a knife is quite possibly one of the most personal things you could ever do.
That's another thing, bro. When them crazy niggas kill somebody with a knife, bro, they stab their ass like 50, 60 times, bro. That 3 little penetration wounds seemed like somebody just wanted that person to die. It didn't seem like they had any passion into that. They just stabbed them once, seen they was still standing there, stabbed their ass 2 more times, seen them collapse, and stopped. If somebody was like passionately trying to smoke somebody, you know how niggas get. They get the There is a lot of circumstances that make it seem like David did this, but it's also circumstances on both sides, bro. We can't just say 100% guilty, bro. We ain't the fucking court, bro. Innocent until proven guilty. Not saying that this nigga's not a horrible person. He's disgusting as fuck, and he's gonna be in jail for the rest of his life, regardless. Well, not rest of his life, regardless, because the CSAM charges the nigga get like 15. So he gonna do 15 or he gonna do life, because there's no way he's coming home. But somebody else could have killed her. I ain't gonna lie about that.
It's not easy. You are feeling their life leave their body with each and every stab. He still would be a disturbed human being if he would have did it by shooting her or, I don't know, drugging her. But to do it with a knife and to feel that person's soul leave their body, it does something to the average person, bruh. The fact that this dude was able to hop on a plane, go ahead and party, have a good old time laughing, great poker face as if nothing happened the day before, then come back and hop on tour and have a tour, and he's playing with coffins at like,
that's
like
why I'm saying, bro, unless that nigga's a bad motherfucker, unless that nigga's El Chapo and reincarnated, unless that nigga's bad, man, unless that nigga's badder than Michael Jackson, that nigga got that nigga face straight, he ain't crying, he been going on tours, throwing labubus, all types of crazy shit. That's why I'm saying. Y'all talk about if he did do this, he's like Light Yagami smart. He's smart as fuck. How? How is he smart if the body was right there? He got CSAM on his phone and all this extra shit. But at the same time, the nigga is looking super oblivious to anything. He's looking like, I don't know. I haven't seen my Tesla. Everybody drives that Tesla. I don't even drive around like that. Oblivious that it's up the street. Oblivious that I still got this in my phone. Knowing that, oblivious that the feds tapped my phone. He oblivious to all this shit that's going on. Like, I don't know, bro. It's a real back and forth case. It's one of them OJ motherfuckers for real. But OJ got arrested 5 days after. 5. Nigga, that's a year later. And on top of that, the motherfucking, they didn't want to indict that nigga. And then the LA police just did it themselves. They said, we just gonna arrest him and then y'all can come up with the indictment. So if he would have been hiding, if they went to that crib, banged on the door, kicked that bitch in, he wasn't there, there wouldn't be no fucking warrant for his arrest where they chasing him down. No, this is just a quick, go arrest that nigga and then charge him when he gets in. That's what it was. There was no warrant for his arrest or nothing like that, bro. If he would have ran, he would still be outside to this day until they indicted him, which they could not indict him because they didn't have enough evidence. That's what I'm saying. If they can't indict you, because we not talking about what's right or wrong. I'm talking about the laws, bro. You gotta indict a nigga. Then once they get indicted, bring them in. Get evidence, indict, bring them in. They didn't get enough evidence to indict to bring the nigga in. That's why I'm saying this shit all too mixy. It's too mixy. It's so much mixing in this shit that if he did do it, he might still get off because it's too much mixing in motherfucking salt. That where a nigga's on a motherfucking jury stand and then his lawyer sitting there convincing him like, oh, beat in. Why would a nigga, we can go through the whole tour. Did y'all see him cry one time? Did y'all see him fucked up? Yada, yada, yada. He did this, he did that. Would you leave a body in your car a block away from your house and just go on? Bro, it's going to be so much back and forth in this bitch that it's going to be reasonable fucking doubt, bro. And if there is no reasonable doubt, that's because they got some hard ass evidence. But if there is reasonable doubt and he still get convicted of it, because that's how you know it goes. Sometimes they'll push them niggas, but I don't know, bro. This a real tricky case right here. But he definitely going down for that CSAM they found.
Playing with blood-filled shirts at his tour dates, singing songs like "Romantic Homicide" that essentially describes what happened, but the music was filmed before. The fact that his mental was able to handle all of this tells me this is not a normal human being. This is somebody who we truly have to acknowledge in the likes of like Ted Bundy. Because when you see him interact with other people, rather it's on stream or during these interviews, he's soft-spoken, he's charming, has a bright smile. We truly have to start considering, yo, David might be like Ted Bundy. And if he was able to do this so easily,
if he was that slimy, boy, he more slimy than Mel. Nah. If he that slimy, that's like how slimy Melly was. Is you really that slimy? Where you can smoke somebody and then just smile at their funeral and then smile to their peoples? You gotta be a different kind of slime to do that, bro. You gotta be mentally deranged, bro. You gotta be insane. But niggas is like that out here.
To conceal this little girl's death for so long, imagine who else he did it to. If y'all think that, after hearing what you're about to hear, of limbs being missing, fingers being cut off, if you think that...
Bro, I already know what the fuck happened. Let me see, rewind. Oh, you wanna tell me why I am waiting for someone to come and give a...
Celeste is his only body. I think y'all are out of y'all mind.
So there's a word that's used, may, that it may have been caused by this. The defense is going to jump on that.
Oh, they'll
because they're not saying it's conclusive, and it aligns with what we've been hearing, which is they were having a really hard time determining how she died.
Well, look at the passage of February.
As recently as February.
The passage of time to determine this is a long. It's many, many months.
There's also, and it's conflicting, and we still can't quite figure it out, but there are references to finding presumptive positive indications that she had both meth and MDMA in her system.
Although additional screenings showed that to be not detected, but the initial screen said presumptive.
It seems like there were two tests taken, two tox screens. The initial one detected MDMA and methamphetamine. Subsequently, they did a confirmation test, and it was unclear whether there was methamphetamine, but no sign of MDMA at that second confirmation test.
I mean, ultimately, is that going to matter when you get to trial?
Right, like, I'm saying, who gives a fuck?
Whether or not she was
probably not.
any drugs.
Well, they may argue it was an overdose. I don't know what they're going to argue, but they'll latch onto what they can.
That's true.
But look, I covered the O.J. Simpson case. The coroner was on the stand for 8 days in that case. So this is going to be the centerpiece of the case because, you know, what the DA is saying is we have evidence she threatened David that she would expose their relationship, probably in a text. That's the way they make it seem. And that she goes to David's house on April 23rd, 2025, never to be seen again.
Right.
So now the question, what happened? So the prosecutor's going to say he stabbed her to death. And here are these 2 wounds. And then you're going to have the defense coming out and saying, look, number one, you didn't say conclusively, you're saying may. And this is a reasonable doubt case.
The medical examiner also released their reports, and yo, I'll be real, bro. Yo, seeing this, man, I don't see how anything other than a death penalty is appropriate here, bro. So they confirmed 2 things. She was missing both arms above the elbows and both legs above the knees. Now, underneath the body bag was a black trash bag that contained the descendants' apparent compiled bilateral arms and legs. They appear to have been dismembered into several fragments. The descendant was in an advanced state of decomposition demonstrated by foul odor, discoloration, liquefaction. Notice approximately 1-inch linear defect on her abdomen and circular defect on her left flank. Now, the left ring and pinky fingers appear to have been mutilated. So this dude probably kept this as a trophy, man. What a weirdo. And I did not locate them during my scene examination, so they're missing, they're gone. She has a tattoo that reads shh on the side of her right index finger. I did not observe any discernible scars or tattoo. I don't even want to know what that weirdo and sicko is doing with those fingers, but his next court date is in like a week or 2, so we're gonna keep on covering this. Let me know in the comment section, what are you guys' thoughts, man? Why do y'all think he did this, bruh? Because to me, it can't just be that she was gonna out him, because there's other things like bribery, like you could, but to just murder.
I don't know. What y'all think? Say that shit in the comments. Y'all think he did it or not? I don't know, bro. It's too early to tell, bro. Oh, you wanna tell